Hello and welcome to the Naked Truth About podcast. I am Danielle Hellebrand, executive coach, keynote speaker and columnist at Better Brains at Work.
And I'm Beverly Wilson Wunsch, professor at the International University of Tourism and Hospitality Management in Germany.
We often talk about a need for real and honest conversations about work and life in a community whose members invite, encourage and inspire each other because people need people. And this podcast is a great way to nurture our collective wisdom. And today we have the opportunity to do that with two wonderful people because Jeena Earthiva and Jim Lippens are with us today. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
So excited to be here.
Great to have you.
Good to see you back.
Yeah, it's so good to see you again and have the opportunity to talk to both of you today, even in your holidays. So we appreciate that very much because that is where you are now. And yeah, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting us to do this.
Thank you for having us.
Wonderful. Welcome again, guys. Jeena, I probably should start with you. I think you have a very interesting background, and I'd love to hear some more about you. You are an award-winning composer, music producer, singer and songwriter from India, and the inventor of the conscious music code. I hope I said that right. Which is in fact a unique music-based technique for personal growth and well-being.
Yes.
We will dive into that a little bit more further down.
And Jim, you are the inventor and founder of 4D Lean, which also means organizing from the heart. And I love that. And Jim, you spent over 20 years in various sectors to understand every secret of lean management. You brought the Harada method to the Benelux and started to focus more on personal leadership, motivating employees and sustainable employability. And we're also going to dig into that later. And Jim, you are also known as one of Europe's leading experts in the field of happiness at work. And happiness at work just makes my heart sing.
You both are also, too, the heart and brain behind the Happiness at Work conference that took place in the latter part of June in Antwerpen. I had the opportunity to watch the conference, unfortunately, online due to my own work schedule. However, I know that it is the heart and the soul of Happiness at Work at the moment, which is actually being followed by thousands and thousands of people around the globe at the moment, which is really very impressive.
Mm-hmm. And I was there live with Stefan and a lot of people of our empowerment community, like Pascal Strauss and Jenny, Julian, Katrijn, Rudy Bachmann from Madrid, and all the other wonderful people. It was just great. And I could experience that energy in person. It was so good to be there. And, you know, both of your experiences and background feels like East meets West. So let's just dive into that. Jim, why this conference? How did it come about? Tell us.
Yeah, that's a personal story. Starting in 2018, that was the first edition of Happiness at Work, and it was kind of like, I was a plant manager in that period, and I started being a plant manager like 4 or 5 years before the first conference, and I had an experience in that plant, in the company I worked for. So the idea of the plant was to fire these 108 people within 3 months, and I know some of these people. I did not know a lot of them, but I knew some of these people, and they were on the list of the 27 people who had to leave the company on my first day as a plant manager. And the moment that I saw the fear in the eyes of these people, and also like when I had that list, just the fear of the people thinking I might be on that list while I have a house to pay, while I have a student in university, whatever, that fear, it was just injustice. And I just felt like, if I don't do anything for these people, who will do something for these people? And I started working for these people, and my only goal was, I want to save these people's jobs. Now, from the first 27, I only could save 3. That day, 24 people were fired, but the rest of the 108 people, I could save their jobs. And that is the moment that, in the end of that period, when they all were saved, then I had the idea, I want to show the world, please stop doing it in the old way, by just like top down firing people, just putting them outside the company as like a garbage bag, something like that. So, and I just wanted to empower these people and to get the best of these people. And then the moment that you do that, when you really believe in the power and the potential of these people, they start blossoming. And that is the way, how companies also benefit. So that was the idea behind the first conference, to show the world, people, please stop doing it in the old way. There's another way. And that was the first conference.
Yeah,
Profound
wonderful.
indeed. Profound indeed. Jeena, you joined in a little bit later.
Yes. Yes,
Would
in
you
this
say?
edition of the conference, yeah.
Right. What made you join the boat, so to
Yeah,
speak?
that's a very good question. So, when Jim came to India for something and we met, and I saw what he was trying to do. I knew about what he was trying to do from a time before, when we had a Zoom call and he wanted me on board for the music. He contacted me for that and to turn it into an experience, and we finalized that part. But that time I was just hired as just a person who will create the experience, and that's it. So that was like a professional agreement, and we did that. Okay. But when he came to India and I saw what was happening, and I found that I can't just be doing this just as an artist and just go on stage, do my thing, and come back. There was more that I wanted to do, because in my own life, I've seen what happens when you're trying to do something very big, and the effort you need to put in is beyond comfort level, much, much beyond.
Right.
And sometimes how alone you can feel, and how much of dirt you need to put yourself into. And
Yeah.
I saw him in that stage, and I just came out of something in my own life in that way. And so I just felt like, what can I do? So I literally jumped in and I said, okay, maybe I can make this, maybe I can make that. And I just I didn't even think of getting involved in a big way. I just wanted to just support Jim with what he was trying to do. And it so happened that I went from just being the artist that was hired to build that, to someone who just wanted to do everything for the mission, like whatever it took.
Right.
Okay, I have to change the font here, I have to
Yeah.
change the color here, I have to change, like, just stay up the whole night talking to people, convincing them to, buy some streams or whatever. Like, it just, the thing is that once you feel that
Yeah.
honesty in the intention, then you just jump right in,
Yeah.
So it was just like that. And then suddenly there were times I would tell Jim, oh my God, my life has gone all over the place. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, we had those moments of everything is going all over the place. But then the heart was there, and we knew why we were doing it. The why was so loud and clear, very loud. In my head, I speak in musical terms and volume terms because I'm a musician. It was louder than the noise of what was going wrong. And so when something is louder than the other thing, you just hear that more. And the
That's
And
why.
the
right.
beautiful thing is, Gina, the loudness of that voice is also felt in vibration. So you
Exactly.
feel, like we said in the beginning, you also feel a little bit like the heart, so to speak. It's the energy, it's the vibration you spread with that, and the real deep honesty also to do
Yeah.
good. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's beautiful.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Jim, I wondered whether or not you can help us to understand, why do you think that there's a need to be happy at work?
Yeah, that I think it's clear, or it's like proven and known, that happy employees, they just perform better. So now when you ask, like, when are people happy at work, and you ask that at the CEO, I think result will be one of the main factors in that happiness for that CEO, because otherwise he gets pressure, etc. So I think result for the CEO is really important. Now, when you look at studies, then you see that people who feel good at work, who are happy at work, they are just more productive. So the best thing is to create like a win-win for both employees and employers, that you make them happy. And we don't aim to be like a fluffy organization. So we
Yeah.
are really like feet on the ground, like, okay, let's make the best of it in a way that is benefiting for all parties, without being like really fluffy or like head in the clouds.
And Jim, what do you want to achieve now? So to speak, are there some next goals you have in mind? Could you elaborate on that if they're there?
We have like a lot of other plans, of course. So one of the main things is always like, and that I saw in my plant, is like, for me personally, I get the most energy by seeing people blossom, by seeing them like increasing their own self-confidence, and then to like grow and grow and grow and grow and go to the next level. And self-realization is one of the biggest needs. And the conference is just like a highlight of the year. There we gather with the family. You met the family, yeah, and then you feel like the vibe, like all these people want like kind of the same. They want to create like an environment where like the connection is there. So that is the conference. But of course, like, you have to know, where am I in reaching this full potential. And therefore, for example, I developed that scan, to know where are you. We think about an academy where people like with change-minded people can offer their modules, just to bring the connection and everybody's skills together, and that you don't have to look at the internet and then just like get lost on the internet. So academy are things, we have ideas with what Jeena is doing with the smells, with the music. So we want to make it broader than just a conference. The conference is just like a reminder. It's just like kind of a business card saying, guys, this is the direction we want to go. And all the rest, like we also have an idea of building a foundation where we can help like less fortunate people. So we are building a lot of things, and the conference.
There you talk from our heart. That's also the thing Beverly and I have in mind doing. So I think you touched with that both of our hearts, doesn't he, Beverly?
Indeed so. Indeed so.
One of the things, like what I saw in my period as a plant manager, the biggest jump forward comes the moment that as a leader you dare to be vulnerable. The moment that you make that heart connection, that is really vulnerable. And that is also why Iris Hunt was on stage and Claude Silver were on stage. They are both representing that area. And that is the area where a lot of managers don't dare to go in. And they think like, in the end of the month, my salary is there. Why should I take the risk of being vulnerable? And there it stops.
And that's why I feel the 4D lean scan which he developed, it kind of shows you exactly which zone you are more resonant with. So suppose you're a very scientific person and you want all the facts and figures and you want everything to be represented a certain way for you to believe in things. You see the evidence before doing things, or you like more procedures and you believe in constantly improving on those things. You fall in a certain zone on his scan and on his model, which has a scan version. If you believe in more belonging, and belonging gives you happiness, or a state of connecting with people gives you happiness, then you fall in a different zone. If you believe in innovation and not so much the rules and the structures, you like to break out of structure, then for you happiness is breaking out of structure. So for every person on that, every person, there is a preferred zone in the model, or a combination of such zones, which he calls dimensions. And with the scan, the plan is that if we can really bring awareness to people and companies are after all people. If you bring awareness, then half the job is done, right? If you don't even know where you are, what your preferences are, you can't talk about, you can talk about happiness, but it won't come. But if you know where you are and where your company is, and you see the gap and what can be then done to reduce the gap, that's where the academy and the other things that come in. But first layer of work that needs to be done is mass level awareness.
And that is it, Jeena. You know, we talk a lot about also in companies about the 7 Sustainable Development Goals of the United
Right.
Nations. Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see a lot of companies who say, oh, look at us. We have item 357. Look at us
Yeah,
being
yeah, yeah, yeah.
sustainable. But that's the window dressing to the outside. You can
Yes.
see in companies if they also work on their inner development goals. And I'm in a lot of movements also worldwide where we talk about that. We can window dress and we can make a scan, but the
Correct.
doing, the
To do it.
awareness
Yeah.
to do it,
Yes.
it has to be come from a deeper, deeper something. And that
Yeah.
is what we talk about a lot of worldwide is what are next to the sustainable development goals, what are the
Yes.
inner development goals. And if we
Yes.
do that together, work on that, communicate, and like you said, Jim, having this family happiness at work conference, I felt like a family. And Stefan didn't know all the people, but he said it was so cool meeting these people. It was this family thing,
Yes.
and that's why I
Yes.
wanted to highlight this another time. This is so important because when
Yes.
we feel that energetic connection, that gives me a boost to go on with the work
Yes.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
all are doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now,
That's right.
yeah, one CEO reached out to me and their marketing manager, and they told us normally when we go to like conferences, there's not a lot of like interaction, or they don't get a lot out of it like commercially. Now they told me like it's the first time ever that all these people of the family came to their stand and all wanted to link with their brand with they told like
So I feel, Jim and Daniel and Beverly, I feel like, the commerce is a natural byproduct of the connection and the trust and the authenticity and the yeah, I mean, I think in other conferences or other events such as that may sound similar or maybe trying to be in the same zone, the difference is people probably still drink and talk, people still eat and talk, there's a place to connect. So that's not the problem. So that was there in all such conferences. But the difference is that here, the speakers that were selected, I think they kind of opened up that area of ourselves, that dimension of ourselves that truly want to connect, like Danielle was saying, truly want to connect on a deeper level and to also learn from one another. Now, that's not always happening just because you provide some food and drinks. The food and drinks is an excuse. The real work has to happen in the hearts of people.
yeah. And what we even saw is that the companies who were not at all focusing on the commercial part, they were the most successful.
Yeah.
So they got the most links because we tried to make this conference like absolutely not commercial. And the ones who are like just supporting us in what we are doing, these were the
Yeah.
companies like who
They
got all the
gained commercially.
connections.
Yeah, yeah, they
Yeah.
gained.
You know, Gina, I always say people go to work, not to be happy. Isn't it? You go
Yeah.
to work and not to be happy. Do you really think it is achievable to be happy at work? I mean, it's the nine to
Um,
five, it's the 8 to 6, name it what you will.
Yeah. So there's one kind of happiness that is obviously separate from work, which is where I'm waiting for the Friday. Like I think you shared that before the podcast started, but yeah, waiting for Friday. There's another kind of happiness that is when you truly do something you like to do,
That's
and
right.
then there is no separation between happiness and work.
That's right.
However, that's where I will again quote Jim's model. Okay, I'm a fan of Jim's model, not because I work with him, but just in general, because I find so much truth in it. In that model, there's a way to see if the company you're about to join or the company you're in is in line with your core values or who you are. And that's not through a question of, oh, do you like this or do you like that? It's not so black and white. It tries to go deeper into your behavioral traits from inside, and we're even going into making it more and more subconsciously designed so that we get the truth out. But even as it is, it shows you if you're in a place or you are about to enter a place that is aligned with you. If you're not aligned with the place, or aligned with the leader in the company or the CEO or the vision of that company, how can you be happy? Because, and it's the same with relationships. If you are in a relationship with somebody whose basic purpose of life is totally different from yours, you can take some beautiful holidays and have some fun, but that's it. You'll be unhappy, and you'll
Right.
just live your whole life unhappy with that person. So it's the same with work. But when there is alignment, like for example, I was working with Jim on Zoom from India. We made every video on Zoom. Like on one side, I had my editing window on the other side, I had the music thing on, and then on the other side, we have Jim telling me what he's telling me, and he's very fast, and I'm like, oh my God. So we're going crazy, and we're like, like sometimes we're like, okay, we need a break. But in all that craziness, there was joy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm just saying that
Yes.
if we separate happiness and well-being from stress, now I
Yes.
might sound a bit controversial, but hold on, let me explain what I mean. If you separate happiness and well-being from stress, there's a problem.
Yes.
Stress is just the response. Even in a so-called stressful situation, I might get stressed and you might be very calm. So it's not about the situation, it's about how we respond. And this is where I try to bring in my music and the smells that is to empower people from the inside and not get stressed by the smallest thing.
Right.
Human beings
Right.
built the pyramids, human beings built crazy things. So stress is always going to be there. The point is, within stress, how can I trigger well-being? How can I use the stress to grow instead of using the stress to just shut down and say, oh, I'm not happy at work?
And that is
Great
what Tal Ben
stuff.
Shahar was so beautiful talking
Yeah,
about,
he
the
was talking
post-traumatic
about it.
growth.
Yeah.
And for me, it always has also to do with surround yourself with good people who can soothe
Yeah.
your nervous system, who will help each other, who are there
Yeah.
for each other. And Jeena, before this podcast, Beverly and I were talking, we do a lot for younger people. Our heart lies there as a little bit, let's call us seasoned
Yeah.
ladies. And, our youth, sorry, Beverly, our youth seem to be kind of more depressed and lonely and maybe a little bit psychological unstable than our generation. Do you agree with that, and or do you see that, and why do you think it is that loneliness that Beverly and I see with the people we work with, and the depression and the overwhelmed? Could you share a few things
Asking
with
me, right?
us?
Yeah. So I
Jeena, yes,
have,
please.
yeah, I have myself, no qualms admitting it. I used to be completely suicidal and completely depressed, just say till even a few years back. And one of my very bad attacks happened even in 2020 end. So I can say this from a very personal angle that generationally, maybe yes, it is true that loneliness, depression, COVID came and just threw a spotlight on it. I always say it was always there. The only thing is that young people, they are being taught history, geography, science, mathematics, and all MBA, engineering, everything, but emotional resilience to bounce back when things go wrong is not a subject that has been taught anywhere. It's not on their curriculum, it's not on their parents' curriculum so how are they going to learn this? We assume that children are born with this emotional resilience, but they're not. So in my own life, there was a reason I was like that. I had very difficult situations, and I'm so glad that I went through it because I get two things from it. I get one I have immense compassion for someone who is feeling lonely or sad, um, because I know at that moment, no matter how logically you can make sense of it by saying, "Oh, why are you so depressed just because of one rejection? Why are you so, why is your mind so weak?" You can make those statements, but I have been there and I know what it is. However, the second thing I gained is I gained an ability to develop tools and mechanisms to fight it, first of all, with my own self. And so, not just talk from books and other people's work, but to create my own work in a way to win over myself, and then show people that, hey, even in your depression, even in your loneliest state, you can create something unique. You can be at your highest potential even when you think you're depressed. And I actually, whatever I do with my life now, all that you saw in the conference, all of that was created when I was in depression. So here I again sound controversial and I might sound crazy, but even in the darkest moment, in fact, it is in your darkest moments that you can bring forth the best. So
Wow.
people think that, oh, when I'm in the light, then I will feel the light from within. No, no, no. When you're in darkness, you can discover the light that was never discovered before. And so darkness is not the problem. The problem is the lack of people or the lack of tools to ignite the light when you are in darkness.
That's
Oh, that
right.
is so beautifully
Yes.
said, Gina.
Yes.
And I also think those things, for me, I have enough of shitty times in my life, I can tell
Yeah.
you, and depressed times, and I thought this is never, 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 ever going to be okay. But those experiences made me also humble, more humble. I think I
Right.
always was a humble
Right.
person, but it made me more and more
More.
humble. And it made me have more compassion for other people going through things.
Exactly.
And
That's
I
right.
learned to see it more quickly.
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I am very quick. I think, oh, there is something going on. So because I can feel very or quicker
Fast.
than faster
Yeah,
than before.
yeah.
Oh, thank you for
Wonderful.
sharing that.
Great
Wonderful.
stuff. Jim, a lot of people listening does not know too much about that 4D lean concept that you have as a part of your repertoire, I would say, and expertise. Can you clarify that for us and what really that is?
Yeah. So in after my period as that plant manager, I wanted to make a summary of that period on a A4. So on one page, I wanted to show people like which were the stages I went through as a plant manager to save all these people, because without result, they would like all be out after 3 months.
And
So
Jim, maybe it's important to tell them that your department created what kind of profits. It's not just you saved them, but you also.
yeah. So it was like really, it was a department with, there was violence, there was like 30 years in a row they made a loss. There were quality problems. Everything went wrong there. Now, in the end, 10% of the population which worked in my department, they created 85% of the result of the whole plant. So they did like 8.5 times better than you would expect. So they were really the money maker in the end of the in that period as a plant manager. Now I wanted to summarize this, like, and also to make it available for others. Like how do you start now with changing a company from like really top down and yeah, people demotivated, etc. How do you bring them like further? And so then I developed the 4D lean model, and that model has like, it's like kind of a guideline. It's like you get like several steps, one after the other. That's one thing, but it's also a consciousness level. And in that model, so you see that there is like a correlation between emotional intelligence and effectiveness. So
Wow.
I don't know any other model in the world that shows like a link between those parameters.
Wonderful.
So that is one of the things. Now you do the scan, you can do the scan as an individual, and as an individual you have the option to measure your company. So that means what are your needs and how well are these needs met by the company. Now the gap between both measurements, between the individual measurement and the company measurement, that gap determines like the happiness of the employee. It in each relation it's like that. Now the better the needs are met, the happier you are, the less chance there is that there is like a break in the relation and that you leave your partner. That's the same with companies. The moment that in the scan the gap becomes bigger than one, you see that people start leaving the company. That's one thing. Now, when you look at the score of the organizations, when an organization scores between 1 and 2, then you get the burnouts, you get the employee turnover, and you get like a raise in people being sick and just at home.
And Jim,
Wonderful.
how am I, as a millennial or Gen Z listening now and going into the world of work, how can I now use your ideas?
Yeah, so that is of course like one of the biggest problems. So what we see is the majority of companies, they are still in the lower D's. Now it's not that the higher D's are better. Like in the model, we make a combination between like
Different dimensions.
different dimensions. So we have like a dimension, we have a rational dimension. There is quality, there is structure, there is safety, these things, there is engagement. Then we have another dimension, there is passion and talent, there's autonomy, there's like
Connections, belonging.
agility, then you have connection, then you have purpose, then you have like, so you have to make a mix of all these different elements. Now what we see, the majority of companies, they are like in the zone of one, aiming for status quo, still 15% are there, and these are then like administration or like the army or the church, or like, of course there are things changing there also, but in general like they are like just aiming for status quo. And then you have like a big amount of companies who are like looking for control, top down, male dominance, and just squeezing the employees and looking for short-term results. Now when you look at the evolution of how generations are now evolving, I'm from generation X. Now change-minded people from my area, they are like mainly in 2D. So that's like they are happy with engagement, with trust, with respect. Like it's like a little bit like the old school change-minded people. What we see is that Gen Y, so the millennials, they shift more to consciousness, and Generation Z, they shift even more to consciousness and to more femininity and being more sensitive and more going for being than for doing, and more for balance than for a result. Now the gap is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Now the moment that these young peoples are looking for a company, there are just not enough companies who are like fitting what they want. And that is one of the reasons why currently Gen Z people, they only stay 2 years in average in a company, because the needs are not met. So the only solution is, you cannot change these people, these young people. You cannot change Gen Z and millennials.
No, we don't want them to be that. They're going to change the world. And we don't want them just to work for money and material matters.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, the only solution is that these
Companies start moving.
that these companies start moving towards more consciousness, and that is why we try to get them into happiness at in the Happiness at Work conference.
Because when companies complain that our employees are leaving, it just remains a complaint, you know, and
Yeah.
there's always a discussion, war for talent, blah blah blah. But I think our golden partner who spoke about it's not a lack of talent, but she said something like it's a lack of open-minded hiring.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
that's
think
right.
Anouk Lagae said that, glaube ich.
Yes.
I think
And
so, yeah.
I think just even if I missed her full speech, but I remember that topic, and I would just vote for that topic. You know, anything.
Yes, yes.
Because you can't change, and you shouldn't have to change Generation Z. You should be moving along with them, learning from them, and then Gen Z will also be willing to learning from you. But if you say no, we don't want you to be like this and you can leave or whatever, then it's like a very unhappy marriage,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah, it
and
is.
it's not sustainable.
Yeah, and there is a yeah, and there is a golden zone. So there is like
Yeah.
really a golden zone, and that was shown in the conference also. So there's a zone, the zone of vulnerability, of heart connection, of self-realization. That is the golden zone. So you can measure that. So the moment that you want to hire people and they have a score in that golden zone, with your eyes closed, just hire them.
Jim is always saying that. And that's probably because Jim, like, even whether it's Gen Z, Gen Y, or whether it's the 2D, the old school, everybody connects with the heart. That's a language everybody understands. The other language is could be Hebrew or Chinese, which we don't understand. But that your 3D plus
Yeah.
score in your model is like a language everybody understands. Everybody has emotion.
I think I'm going to take that challenge to do some research on that golden zone.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll make sure that you guys be given the credit indeed for that model. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I wanted to ask a question about whether or not you think, both of you think, that we as leaders, as managers, teachers, coaches, parents have really missed the opportunity to pass on the real important values to our young people. Have we not done the right thing?
I think parents are trying their best to inculcate values in every country. I come from the East, and there are certain values which are more natural to us. In the West, there are other values. But even then, whether it's the East or the West, I think parents always want to. However, again, I go back to the example of the language. If you speak in a language your child doesn't understand, so it
Yes.
doesn't matter what you're trying to say and how great your intention is. If the language is not of trust or the language is of dominance, then the child will never want to learn. That's one part. But then again, we sometimes see parents have maybe tried very hard to, not just parents, even teachers, they've tried, and still the children are not responding. That's, I would say, very less. I would say that if there is a language of trust and language of belonging, if you speak through that language and you introduce these things like I was talking about, emotional resilience or other things which makes the child or the student ready for the world. And if you spend more time doing that than just teaching them different subjects, I think we'll have a very different situation in the workforce, because the starting is in the family and then the
Yeah.
schools and colleges. And I don't think enough time and effort is being spent on that. And so very little things disturb, like small triggers become big things because nobody taught you deal with that.
Jeena and or Jim, what is the lesson you would teach if you had 15 minutes in a classroom with tomorrow's generation of young people? What would you teach?
For sure, to believe in themselves, and when it's like really young people, I see like kind of the movement that is going on, and I would try to make sure to them it will not be easy to also to integrate like a kind of discipline and doing and yeah, the younger generation, they were like, what I see is like there's a lot happening in the world, so you see, for example, then influencers, and you see on YouTube with one video, or with you can be like famous, and it's like
Easy.
there's a shift, like getting things easy, and that is also
Yes.
coming from the parents. So to do like kind of effort for something, yeah, that is important. So that would be for me for sure one of the things that I would try to make them sure. But if they believe in themselves, that's the first thing, and they really go for it, and there you need action and discipline and doing for, then you can achieve whatever you want. So
That's
that
right.
is
Yeah, and I would just add one thing that if I had 15 minutes, I would just say, first of all, that you, me, everybody is the manufacturer of your own happiness. So no boss, no parent, no partner, no situation gets to decide how you feel inside of you. If they get to decide what you feel inside of you, I'm sorry for using the word, but it's slavery. It's slavery
Yeah.
to your
Yes.
situation.
Yes,
You
you're
know,
right.
you've got to not be a slave to what your boss says, or how hurtful somebody is, or how mean someone is, or what have your happiness has to be totally 100% in your control, and whatever needs to happen, whatever you need to learn to do that, go for that before anything else. And secondly, if you truly want to be happy or achieve anything, skills is not enough.
Yeah.
Courage.
Right. Very
Courage.
good.
You
Very
got to be
good.
brave, because you got to make failure a, very normal. You have to normalize failure. You have to stop normalizing victories. You have to, in fact, start normalizing failures. When you start normalizing failures, then you start giving them hope that even if you fail 1,500 times, you
Yes.
can just get up. And that ability to get up is requires bravery. And there I again support Jim when he says about discipline. It sounds like a hard word, but it's not. When you're happy from within, you will love to do what you do, and the discomfort will also be fun. You know, an athlete, when he runs in the Olympics and wins, he runs like he feels looks like a bird. You know, he's flying. He's not
Yeah,
running. He looks like he's flying.
that's
But to
right.
fly like that, he must have had to wake up every morning at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. and, hear all the, abuses from his coach and, whatever else he had to go
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
You know, it
That
wasn't
process of
very fun. It
practice,
was,
practice.
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
practice and
Expertise.
regularly doing it. So
That's
this
right.
was not, we only see him flying when he's
Yes.
running the Olympics. So like for me, like people see me on stage, oh, she's very nice. Wow, so confident. Yeah, but hello, like I went through days and nights of crying and crying and only crying over rejections. And I just kept going.
And Gina, that is so beautifully that you share that, because that is why Beverly and I wanted to make this podcast the naked truth about. We see all
Yeah,
these shiny things on social media,
yeah,
but in the episodes before this one, we talked about our own roadblocks, our own misery, our own things that we thought this is never going to be okay. And the
correct.
problematic thing is, I think, if we don't do that enough. And that's why we wanted to do this podcast. We do not only talk about our successes, but also about the obstacles in lives.
That's
And
right.
Gina, I wrote, you were once very successful, and then you lost your voice at about 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell us how? I mean, you elaborate also a little bit on that, but how do you cope if something devastating like that happens in your life?
Yeah, my answer is in the shift in identity. So when I was a singer, I was identified with my voice.
Ah,
So um, my birth name and my original name is Sukanya. So that is the name, the brand name I used as an artist to be successful as a singer. I was also a TV host. I was doing very well for myself given that age and time and everything. So I was going on an upward graph, and my identification was Sukanya the singer, right? So that's who I was in my head and even for the people outside. Now, when I lost my voice, I thought it was just a throat infection or whatever, but it just never seemed to come back. And so I could speak barely in a terrible, like, goat voice. I could speak,
Mm-hmm.
you can't use that voice to sing. And the doctors could not come up with a solution after all the tests and the examinations and the medicines and everything. And that period taught me that if I was going to remain identified with my voice, then I would lose, because then I'm a slave to my voice. Then everything I do is based on whether I have my voice or not. Whether I'm happy or not also depends on my voice. But now I decided to make a shift to my true identity, which is that I'm here to serve, I'm here born out of the earth to serve the earth. Full stop. Now, whether I do that with voice or with hand or leg or eyes or mouth or whatever, however I do that, the truth is I'm born out of the earth, I'll go back to the earth while
That's
serving
right.
the earth in the process. There I gave myself a new name, Jeena Earthiva. Earthiva comes from that realization of my identity. That tomorrow, if you take away music, I will dance. If you take away dance, I will do swimming. If you take away swimming, I will do something else. But I will never stop encouraging people with every cell of my being to reach their full potential. That you cannot stop.
Powerful. Powerful indeed.
And that's
Powerful.
how I developed the technique that I developed. It's called conscious music code, as you said in the beginning. But it was not to use music to heal somebody. That was not the aim. The aim was to use music just as a tool to bring out the best that already exists within a person.
Yes.
Because the healing has to happen from within you. The music cannot do that for you. Even if it does, it's for 5 minutes or 5 days. Then you go back to your whatever, all the dirt in your life, and there again you're alone. You can't keep playing music and playing beautiful frequencies 24/7 in your head. And that's why I call it conscious music code, because the music is to code and recode the things that need to be recoded. And this whole technique I developed by accident in my depression while I was crying. So it was not fun. But in the process, I got back my voice. And so I know the technique worked. And the doctor said, "Oh, but how did you get back your voice?" And I said, let it be. You know, you all have done enough. And you will not understand what really happened. And then later I started speaking about it. And Jim, when I told Jim about what I wanted to do, he gave me the opportunity within the conference um, to bring this alive in front of 1,000 people or more. So that's what it is.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Jeena, I think you spoke so much about people who you connect with, and it's in a very beautiful way. But was there one person or two
Yeah.
persons who impacted your life personally and professionally?
Yeah, and I meant to say that before, but it slipped my mind. It's my mentor, Dr. Daisaku Ikeda. He is someone who's a peace activist, though he's the president of a Buddhist organization, but it's not about the religion, it's about the message. And regular, rigorous, uncomfortable practice of my the philosophy I'm into. Now, what he said, something, and he said this in one of the messages that he had sent to all of us, and he said something like, "We have to transform the life state of humankind." So I read that line and I didn't like it. Why? Because I felt my own life state was shit at that time. I was depressed and I just wanted to die. I had no voice. I just had no identity. I lost all my savings. So 3 years of that. Now my mentors, we call it in Japanese sensei. Sensei is saying we have to transform the life state of humankind, and I just was like, can you stop saying these things, because my own life is shit right now, But I tried to forget that line, and you know what happens when you try to forget the pink elephant? When you try
Yeah.
to forget something, it doesn't work. You
Yeah.
just go back to it.
Yeah.
And then that line kept on and on and on, playing like a loop, like a earworm in my head, that I'm here to transform the life state, which means the inner state, not the life as in take away someone's poverty. No, the inner state of someone's life, and for the whole humankind. So that was my prayer, my action, and I felt a sense of urgency. Like, if I don't create this technique now, it's almost as if people are going to die. And every
Yes.
day I would ask myself, what I may have a beautiful intention of changing the world, but that intention means zero, a big zero, if I'm not taking urgent action. Action with a sense of urgency. So that commitment based on that line by my mentor, it just did the magic for me, and I still go back to it again and again. So
And thank you, Gina. Beautiful. And I think all of us, as we're sitting here, are fascinated by this holistic way of thinking, and there is this mind body connection. I mean, we know that everything is interconnected. And the interesting thing is that the mind spirit body connection, which we've known for ages, now is kind of backed up by science. In the West, I think we see our bodies a little bit like machines and our brains like machines. We have to optimize everything. And we miss out on looking at the soul, the deeper consciousness, the spirit. And for me, being a scientist, and I'm talking and working on our social brain and working environment, being kind to each other, and the importance of that. I think all the developments now in neuroscience gives us a lot of help on how to be good and smart in our daily interactions. And Jim, do you think that there is a place in business for the knowledge we now have from neuroscience, and especially the social neurosciences?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That is like one of the things we now want to investigate. Like, how can we link the things that we see in the model with conscious musical, with science? And that is also one of the ways of bringing the more rational people into believing what we
Yeah.
are feeling. So that is really important to capture that, I created that model in half an hour, like
And that again is proof that your soul exists. It wasn't coming from your
No.
thinking mind,
No.
that model.
So I just downloaded it. Now I see when I go to companies, I see already like in which dimension they think or they are. The moment that I say, yeah, but everybody can make a model, and if I have to start like convincing or explaining, like, then part of the fun is already done. Now to create
That's
like
right.
volume and to get everybody on board, we will do this scientific
Studies.
studies. But there's so much, like, for example, the reason when you go to the deeper reason of why my mission is so deep, it comes from a personal trauma. The moment that these people were in front of me and I saw the fear of these people, I got a flashback to my youth. So when I was 5, 6 years old, I came home and my dad started beating up my mom. Now I interfered, and the day after, my dad came to me and he told me, I will show you who is the boss. And he started beating me up. Now
Wow.
that game lasted for
Yes.
7, 8 years. Every day he had the opportunity to beat me up, he came to me. Now one day he really beat me up so hard that he broke 2 ribs, and so I was just puking blood, like it was like, but I was so immune to the pain that he created that I just stood up, I went on my bike, and I still remember like the clothes I wear, and that's typically for a trauma. The clothes I wore that moment, and I was on my bike, and I was like, I still like remember
The feeling.
the feeling, but also like the tempo, how I was driving that, and the drive like to go home. And that moment I was thinking, later I will do something for people who are treated like
Badly.
badly,
Without-
by people abusing their position, their power, by being with more people than one single people, like all these types of injustice. And the moment that I was in front of these people,
Employees.
these employees, I got that flashback, and I knew like this is why this happened to me. Now, this drive is so deep in me that whatever happens, like I will always like go for to help people to avoid like going through this,
Injustice,
and it's kind of changing a trauma into a purpose. Now, what happened later on, and that is kind of linked with the body mind thing. So I was training for the marathon, and so when I started running the marathon, after 25 kilometers, my legs blocked. No, they blocked. So I had to stop the marathon. I was 4 months on crutches. So I could not walk anymore. So we started looking where is that root cause coming from? Where is that coming from? So I went to all kind of doctors, and they were looking for the root cause of, like, how come your leg is blocked, or I get injections, whatever, nothing helped. Until I went to a holistic massage person, and she started feeling on my ribs. And she asked me, what is this here? Like, there's like a plate. There's like something is hidden here. I told her, yeah. When I was 13, I broke 2 ribs there. She told me that was on the left side. She told me that wound created the fact that you are kind of lifting your right leg, and that is the cause of blocking your leg during the marathon. Now, that you could prove, like, scientifically, maybe not now, but later on you will be able to
Prove such things, yeah.
prove, like, this kind of damage, physical damage
That comes from emotions, yeah.
coming from emotions, and like really blocking physical things like 30, 40 years later.
It's amazing. And also thank you, Jim, for sharing that very personal story. It's the body keeps the score. We
Yeah.
say in neuroscience,
absolutely.
the body keeps the score.
That's right.
That's right. And that's really now also a very big thank you for both of your stories, because this is what this is what we wanted to do this podcast, to talk about these things, and not
The
just
naked truth, yeah.
just the naked truth.
Indeed.
Yeah, but that's amazing that you call the podcast The Naked Truth, because I think sometimes people are not able to handle the truth. But when you say that it's going to be the truth, so if you can't handle it, you don't come. But if you come, then you have to get the naked truth. You know.
I love it. I love it. Jeena, you seem to be on a spiritual journey.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what spirituality means to you?
I think 2 things that pop up immediately when you say that is, one is that you are the creator of your own happiness, and no one else gets to decide what is happening with your spirit. They can block your body, they can block your muscles, you can block everything, and karma can try to take away all things from you, even cause you to die, but your spirit decides whether it will be happy, even at death. That's one. And the second thing is that we are infinite. Like, I'm not saying this in an abstract way. In my own life, I had no idea what I could do with music and all this. I just thought I was a singer. So if I could just find so much hidden stuff within me, and I think there's just 1% of what I could really become, then everybody is infinite in whatever state they are, whether they're depressed, whether they're lonely, whether they're sad, negative, you're infinite. So that for me is very core of what spirituality is. And I also want to say one last thing, that if you want to touch that, or if you want to taste the infiniteness or the greatness inside of you, the only way to do that is to practice. It will not happen by thinking about it or writing poems about it or by conceptualizing it. It will happen through hardcore practice. And that's where the material and the spiritual, to me, have no clash. For me, they are one and the same. Like the material teaches you to strengthen your spirituality. You cannot practice spirituality away from the material. You can, but that's something totally different. You're not bringing any value to the actual world. When you practice spirituality right in the middle of the dirt, right in the middle of the Mumbai, where I come from, like, if you really are an expert on meditation, show me what you can do with your meditation in the midst of Mumbai traffic. Can you handle the honking of the cars
Right.
and the beggars begging with no limbs? Can you stand there and still be meditative? If you can, then great. If you just sit in the mountains or on a beach and meditate, for me, that's not spirituality,
Yeah.
because that's somewhere it's like only self-serving.
Yeah, that's
yes.
right. And for me, it is living with an open heart and being aware of our interconnectedness and trying
Yes,
to be
yes.
as conscious as I can be. And I think we are not enough aware of the fact that we are one with all that exists.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there is
Yeah.
this unified world of existence where everything is interconnected. And I think if you really get that, if you really get
Yeah.
that, you can feel more love and compassion and joy. And I think also is a part of us that is beyond space and time, and that is
Yeah.
just pure consciousness. So I think our energy or our spirit or whatever you may name it will always be there. We live in each other, we coexist in each other.
Yes.
And what
Yes.
about you, Jim?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for me, spirituality, it's like, yeah, also like it's being unshaken with an open heart. So being able to stay like fully aligned, whatever happens, with an open heart. So that is one of the things I learned, like to get rid of like after what happened with my dad. I really like I got introvert, really closed up in myself, and my relations later on then make me take off that protection. My first relation broke because I was
Close.
too closed. So that was one of the things. So I tried to save that relation, and in the end, I had to take off that backpack of being closed and introvert. So now, when I was making my model, I was thinking about adding a section of wholeness. Now, to know like a little bit what wholeness like really means, I was a pioneer for a group of shaman in Holland for 15 months. So every month I drove to the shaman to be like a pioneer. They were looking for 3 years to find a pioneer to just be able to try the training they wanted to bring. But they warned the people, the moment that you are in month 5, there comes the encounter with entities. The moment that you have fear for these entities, they will not go away until you take away your fear. You overcome your fear. Now, with all what happened in my past, I was thinking like, okay, what can happen? So I went there for 15 months. That was also like the agreement. If you step in,
You
you
can't
can't
stop.
step out. So yeah, I was there like sitting on a chair, laying down on a table with crystals underneath it. Yeah, in the end, I could feel when there was a crystal underneath the table, yes or no. So part of that, like getting more sensitive, is like part of the spirituality. Now, the main thing for me of spirituality, real spiritual people, they bring something back to the world.
Yeah.
So
Not just
Oh
yeah,
yes, Jim, and you know there is a little bit that sparks with me. I lived with the Kogis in the south of America for a while. They live like for 400 years, so I feel what you are talking about. And
yeah.
you know,
Now, yeah.
sorry, yeah.
Now that shaman, she was at Happiness at Work, and she came to,
She
yeah,
came to the
yeah.
conference.
She
Yeah.
came to me and she sent me yesterday.
Oh, wonderful.
She texted me like I want to be part of this.
Ah,
At the conference, she came to me, and like when you go then in my model, like spirituality, it's like in 4D. So people are searching for like for themselves, what is happening. They are looking for purpose. They
Answers.
are
Yeah.
looking for answers and etc. So she as a shaman for sure was in that zone. Now what she told me, I'm so grateful for this conference because what you showed me is that real spirituality is heart connection and vulnerability. So she mentioned like the
yeah.
golden zone in my model, the zone where Iris Hunt was and Claude Silver was. This is the golden zone, and it's not like hat in the clouds or like meditating in Tibet on a mountain. She really saw there like, okay, I have to bring
Bring
it
it
back
back.
to the world, bring it back into myself, open myself up for others, and that is like for me real spirituality.
Beautifully, beautiful. And you know, the interesting thing is, Gina, you speak about your consciousness and your conscious music. If you ask neuroscientists, where does thinking come from? Where do we find consciousness? What is the source of imagination, of creativity, of intention? The answer is we don't know. And the
Exactly.
more we know about the brain, the less we know about consciousness. And isn't that amazing? I mean, as a
Right.
scientist, it's amazing. The more we
It's like
search for it, the less we find it. And it seems like, for me, only consciousness seems to understand consciousness,
conscious.
and only
Absolutely.
soul can understand soul.
That's
So I
right.
think that is with
Absolutely.
your
Can I
music.
say something
Yes,
about
please.
your what the example of interconnectedness you gave, and now what you're saying? It's like, okay, let's use this metaphor. Like life is a song. Let's say it like this, okay?
Yeah.
Now, suppose your life is a song, and different people that come into your life are like your mm, like a band where there are different people that are playing different instruments. Okay,
That's right.
so
That's right.
your partner's playing guitar, for example. Right now, Jim and I are playing piano for you. Whatever, whoever you encounter are like musicians. So take it like that. Now, notice this. If individually, now we are pianists, we are amazing at what we just know our instrument really well. The guitarist knows his instrument really well. Then there's a drummer who knows his instrument. Like they're all amazing at what they do. And they're playing the same song because it's your life, so we're playing the song of your life. However, if we all start playing the same song but in a different key or in a different rhythm, so individually we're all playing correctly, right? But in total, what is the audience hearing? They are hearing chaos, like noise, because everybody's playing in different tempos and different keys. It's the same song. So that's kind of like my worldview, is that ultimately, if we have to play the same song, which is to make the world better or which is to make our children happy or whatever, the playing, no matter how individually great we are, the playing has to be in tune with one another. Otherwise, we hear noise. That's all that it results in. And about the consciousness and this thing, I just truly feel that the body knows much more than the
Oh,
mind. Like it just
Oh,
knows.
right.
oh
It
Yes.
doesn't
yes.
lie.
Yes.
The body keeps. Oh yeah.
It doesn't lie. So suppose you ask your mind, "Am I happy today?" Your mind will say, mind will come up with 50 words to describe what you are feeling. If you ask your stomach right now, "Are you happy?" If you ask your heart, if you ask your shoulder, if you ask different parts of your body if they are happy, just to talk to them as people, you will get a very clear one answer, one word, or one
Yeah.
feeling. There's no confusion.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I'm in love, I'll feel butterflies in my stomach. If I'm scared, I'll feel weak in my knees. There's a reason why these terminologies have come. So in conscious music code, the basis is bottom up. So ground up. So like from the body, we enter the mind, but we don't trust the mind because mind is very unreliable device. It can go everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a device. I should know how to use it. If I just go according to it, then I'll go crazy. Um, so I go like that, and music kind of. I was speaking to Iris Horn before the conference, and we both kind of came to this conclusion that music is the answer. It's the
Yeah.
answer.
And also this energy, this level, of course. But we still live in a world with where people, not every company is that far, and that's the way I come in with a company with my science.
Correct.
They think, oh,
Right.
she knows a little bit of science.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
listen
yeah.
to
So
her,
we
and
must
then
try
I
it.
can do my hard things. I mean hard, like here hard things. It's a little bit. Beautiful, all that. Dear Jim, dear Jeena, with respect to your time, we could go on for ages. We would like to have a few questions. And we would
Yes.
like you to ask the following. Could you please finish the following sentences? The first one, the world needs.
The world needs belief that it can heal itself.
Wow.
Jim,
Deep.
Yeah, simple, hard.
Beverly,
Communities. No need for competition.
and I think more love and compassion. Jim, Jeena, I believe in.
I believe in the greatness hidden in every life living on this planet.
Jim?
Yeah, the infinite potential in everybody.
I believe of the generation of today, those who will take the baton from us. I will be smiling somewhere watching those young men and women burn for passion about their lives, their planet, their jobs, and their future.
And I believe in the world being a better place if we would watch each other's souls and not just, our outside. And sometimes I think if the words we were speaking were written on our skins, would we still be beautiful? So, yeah, talking about this from soul to soul. Jeena, I want my legacy to be.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, it's always like I want my legacy really to believe in themselves, in their own potential, that they are able to do whatever they want, and yeah, that they get rid of all the blockages and all the limiting beliefs.
I want my legacy to be courageous, righteous, compassion.
I would like my legacy to be shown through a generation that truly understand what lifelong learning is all about, first developing self and then sharing with others. I have many sons and daughters in the meantime, and I want that legacy to continue.
My legacy, I want my son and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren to be proud of me, that I think grandma did the best that she could in her time to give good energy to the world. A last question. What do you believe is the purpose of life? Jeena, what's the purpose of life?
The purpose of life is to live and to bloom to the best of what we truly can be, and then remind people of their ability to bloom as well.
Wonderful.
Because it's mutually inclusive.
Jim.
Yeah, to enjoy every moment of your life, and while doing that, doing your purpose. And a lot of people are looking for like, what is now my purpose? That is like one of the big questions people ask, like, and in a lot of cases it's hidden in a personal trauma. So transforming that trauma in purpose might be also part of that goal.
I think that the purpose of life is to give back. Once you have succeeded, share it with others, invite others to the joy you're experiencing. That is really non-negotiable, I think.
And I think finding your own purpose, and for me, is that the ability to love, to be of service, to have compassion, also the ability to fulfill worthy goals and be in touch with the energies and the souls of other people, and to follow the evolutionary impulse of the universe. Jim and Jeena, it was wonderful having you on our podcast. Thank you.
What a day.
What a day. What a wisdom. What an energy. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for your really cool and amazing questions and the way you held the space, both of you. It's beautiful. And thank you for creating such a podcast for people to be naked, truly, from the spirit.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Also, very beautiful voice on on the radio or whatever where you are broadcasting it, and now we go to the beach and enjoy the sun and
So namaste, Jeena. Namaste,
Jeena.
Jim.
Thank you both.
So we invite you to join us as we explore our own and other people's life and work stories. We will talk to a variety of people with all kinds of backgrounds, and we have a lot of knowledge to share. So let's learn out loud together and explore how we can better interact with each other in our private lives and in our work lives. And let's keep nurturing our souls. So thank you all for listening. Have a good week and be kind. The world needs a hospitality mindset.
And that is the naked truth.